In this episode, Jake and I reminisced about the recent Banking with Life event, October 2024. We covered the speakers, the agenda, the attendees, and just how much dang fun it was. And I'm sorry you missed it. I hope you don't miss the next one. But thank you for listening. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery.
And I'm your co-host, Jake Neathery.
And so we thought that we would do a post-event kind of review, discussion of all the great things that happened at the Banking with Life event this October 2024. I know I had fun. It was good to see people. It was good to see everyone, most of whom I had already met, but a few had not met previously, and that's always a joy. So what do you think? How do you think it went, Jake?
I thought it was fantastic. I've got nothing but great feedback from the event. Great feedback from our clients too. And just personally, I had a lot of fun. I always like seeing our clients. Of course, there's newer clients who I've never met before, and that's always fun to meet them and get to see them and really just kind of hanging out and being around these type of people. It's always a joy.
You know, some of the framework, we've held this type of event for the last 3 years, so this was the third consecutive one, and they've been held in October, and this one was October 25th, Friday evening, and then all day Saturday, the 26th. And the time, effort, and energy and the manpower that it takes to put that together is quite a lot. So if you've never done events, you may not have a frame of reference. If you have done events, you do have a frame of reference. But we probably started working on this shortly after the previous event of October of 2023.
It seems like that's how they usually go, is about a month or so after the event's done, we start planning for the next one.
After you recover?
Yeah, no, you do need a couple of weeks to recover, and we're still not in there. This is probably too much information, but my toes are still misformed and misshaped from the walking around, standing all day.
You young guys, it's like, I was recovered the next day, ready to do it again.
Look at this guy, just bragging. No,
No, but it's like after, the people come in, you get to meet with them, you get to talk with them, you get to see the speakers and, talk to you. It's really a love fest.
Absolutely.
In addition to many other things, but it takes a minute to process all of that.
Yeah.
Breaking it down, hauling it home, all of the equipment and what have you. And but it takes a lot of effort to put an event together, especially at this level. I think it's a high level event. We had about 100 people in attendance, which was a little down from last year. I think we had 120 or 130 last year. Then we had 19 or 20 states, which was down from 22 to 25 the previous year. However, we had our good friend Stacy from Portugal, a client. So I thought to myself, one foreign country could, carry four or five states for representation.
100% agree. Absolutely.
We have some new merch this year that we haven't done before, and it'll be available on the website store. But these, I don't know what you call these mugs.
Yeah, the like Arctic mugs. I think they're actually they are the polar mugs.
Polar mugs. I know they work.
Yeah, they're really good, and they keep ice cold, keep hot drinks hot. They're fantastic, and you have a couple different designs. You have the James Neathery and Associates Financial Services logo, and then one that really kind of sold like hotcakes, and it's probably because you're watching the podcast now. Podcast fans, lots of podcast fans. So we have not only our Banking with Life podcast shirts, get yours online. We also have a Banking with Life podcast mug and Banking with Life podcast hat.
Yeah, so that's all new this year. Had a couple of, Ryan Griggs, he released his book, How to Buy a Whole Life, a framework for becoming your own banker, which I have said, and and we'll continue to say, I think that book will be the companion book to Becoming Your Own Banker. It's sure not meant to replace that. It's not a marketing sales tool. I mean, it's really educational, and it gets into the mechanics. If you know Ryan and you listen to him, he is precise and gets into depth on the mechanics. I think those came in like the day before the event, shortly before the event.
Well, they did. This is actually my copy. I bought my own. So I started reading it. You can see the little bookmark in there. I just started. So don't beat me up for just starting. But
no, that's good. And then Barry Dyke, he also spoke, The Retirement Ruse. Mm-hmm. It's always good to see them.
Yeah, very much so.
But overall, it was a great event, I thought. And what do you want to bring up? I probably had more positive appreciation. Thanks for even doing it. Appreciating the ability to fellowship. When I said Friday the 25th, there was a pre-event mixer. I think there were 90 people at that.
Almost everybody that went to the event went to the pre-mixer, which was very different because last year I think we had 70 people at the pre-mixer, but it was like 120 was the total attendance. And then seriously, the pre-mixer this year, I think it was 90 people showed of the 100 that came. And then
all day Friday. So there was fun at the the pre-event mixer the night before, but it was also fun the next day. We had lunch, we had breakfast, we had lunch, and the food was good. And then we had what I think were great talks. I think who went first? Larry went first without mentioning any other names or life insurance companies and he's top executive at the best life insurance company in North America to practice the infinite banking concept with. Oh, and I'm not just saying that because that's the only company that we write for. I can write for any company in North America that uses a general agency or independent distribution system, as long as you don't have to be their captive agent. And I'm not saying that to disparage any other company. I'm saying that after 20 years of practicing the infinite banking concept, that's the best company. Oh, wait. And then he even knows a little bit about the infinite banking concept. He met Nelson many times. Nelson told me directly, personally, that Larry was his favorite home office person.
Yeah, we've mentioned Larry quite a bit on the podcast before.
Have we?
Yeah, it's one of those things. If you're a longtime listener, if you know, you know. He's been mentioned. So
if you know, you know.
Yeah, it really is. And he, of course, not only one of Nelson's favorites, was there for Nelson's funeral. Flew in personally for that. And I think even rerouted his flight to get there.
He did. He was on a plane going somewhere, and had it turned around.
Yeah, he's a good guy and a great friend. We love Larry, and we are so happy he's there. And, honestly, one of the things I really liked about our event was the layout of the speakers. And for those of you who've done meetings with me when I go over your life insurance policies and we go over your IBC policies, I start off by talking about insurance companies, their financial strength, why we chose the insurance company that we chose for the client. I thought that was a great intro for an event, because it's like the reason I like to talk about insurance companies to start. Not only is it one of those things where it's like, hey, the vehicle that we're using is powerful, and that's important to understand the power of the company that's behind the vehicle that we're using. I think that's just as powerful in an event format, because it's everything that you're doing here. There's something that backs that up. It's not just we're doing business with a random company or the first company that came across, or like James says, unfortunately, there's a lot of agents out there that are captive agents. They don't have choices of which companies to do business with. So their company's the greatest company. And when you don't have a choice, of course, your company's the greatest company and has no issues and flaws. But when you do have a choice like we do, and they're not the only company we do business with. We do business with several companies. But specifically, when you're hearing most of our clients have this company, or if you don't, it's probably because you don't live in a state where the company does business.
An awful lot of our clients have the company for sure.
Yeah, I would say the majority. So it's good to hear that information. And it's not like the companies that weren't represented don't have a lot of those same details. I would say most of the companies we do business with are very similar in a lot of circumstances, even if they're different states or even different products. The companies, their financial strength, their direct or non-direct recognition status, how financially strong they are. What would you say? Their ability to use these policies, the flexibility. All of these things are very similar throughout these companies that we do business with. So I don't feel like if you had a policy from a different company than Larry was talking about, I don't think you missed out on a whole lot. I think those things transition, or they translate very well into what company you're doing business with as well. Speaking again to the companies we do business with, if you have a policy with another agent, with somebody else, I can't speak to that. And you have your own things going on there. So
yeah, you're talking about he started off, he was the first speaker. And in my mind, these things, you think they're more planned than they are, and there's a lot of planning that went into the event. And I'm not saying that didn't occur, because that absolutely did occur. But I like, and it's just the way it has happened. In this event and the previous events, how. I like to think of flow in terms of flow. How's the day going to flow? Is this in the right time frame? Is that in the right time frame? But kind of like building, and I thought it was just like properly building, But I thought if you could hear from Larry, like the number one life insurance company in North America to practice the infinite banking concept with. And he talked about their philosophy, their financial strength, and it's reassuring maybe, and even reconfirming what you're doing and why you did it. And if you think about that, when's the last time? Well, let's say that you're buying Bitcoin. Right, you're putting a bunch of money in Bitcoin. When's the last time you got to speak to Satoshi Nakamoto, or whatever his name is?
Satoshi, yeah.
Who?
Satoshi, yeah.
Satoshi. Okay.
I don't know his last
no
name.
Disparagement if you love Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Yeah. My point is, when's the last time you spoke with him? How about you have all your money or most of your money going into IRAs and 401ks, whatever, wherever, whatever company, and God bless you. When's the last time you spoke to them? Did you have to go to a shareholder meeting that you had to pay big money for and you couldn't get in because there wasn't enough room? My point is, it's a rarity whenever you get to hear from a high-level executive of where you're actually putting your money. That's a big deal to me.
Yeah, and he came to us, not us going to them. Like in the examples you were giving, people going to shareholder meetings, you're going to their shareholder meetings. He came to us. Came to our meeting and was there for our clients and our people. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I've gotten feedback from, of course, Mark was there also. Larry and Mark were both from this particular life insurance company that spoke. Yeah. Yes, we own them. We write them. They're not the only ones. But he had feedback for me too. Larry,
okay.
Well, Mark did too.
Okay.
All right. Larry explained to me how impressed he was that our clients, in his experience, right? He's been to two. He went to last year. He went to this one. And he shares this. He goes back to the home office and shares it, and whomever else he shares it with. He was impressed, literally, been in the life insurance business industry 40 years. All right. He's a senior vice president of distribution. All right. So that means he gets to talk to agents, agencies, IMOs, the distribution, all of the entities that distribute the life insurance company's products. He gets to talk to a lot of salesmen and a lot of agents. And God bless him, right? But he said, and he'd been to many, many industry events, and he said that he had never seen a group of policyholders and clients. He didn't call them policyholders. He called them clients. He said, James, your clients are more educated with the fundamentals and the mechanics of life insurance than I have ever seen anywhere. I mean, impressed upon him their level of understanding.
Yeah.
Right. And then, and Mark pretty much said the same thing, or very similar. But, when you get a room full of people, 100 people in there, and they don't have to be apprehensive about sharing what they're doing, because we're all there for the same reason, because we all, encountered Nelson Nash in some form or fashion, his works or him, the man himself. That's what we're all there for, right? We're all practicing the infinite banking concept, learning, trying to do better. Iron sharpens iron, learn from each other. And when you're in that environment, the camaraderie between the clients is unbelievable. I know last year people have met and then went on vacations together, and then this year you get to see them, not necessarily those, but you get to see them meet new people and, catch up with people they had met previously in an unrestrained way.
Yeah.
It's like everybody there's paying big old honking life insurance premiums. They all bought into the BOLP idea, right?
Yeah.
Big old life insurance policies, right? But then they're all practicing at different levels. I know there's one young man there that he may have been a client as all of 3 weeks. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Gone through the underwriting process. And then we had clients there. I got to talk to one. He's been a client over 15 years.
Yep.
And then all the way in between. It's just, to me, I know that we just can't go anywhere across the country and experience that.
Yeah. And I think something that's really cool, I've had a couple clients come up to me during the event saying things like, hey, Jake, I talked to these guys and, they're doing more commercial real estate is what they use with their policies. It's like, I'm looking at talking to like more people who are, employees, and they're looking at talking, this specific person was looking at talking to somebody more like himself.
Sure.
And it's like, hey, can you point me out to some people who are more like me? It's like, yeah, that table right there, those two guys, that's who you want to talk to. Okay. And then playing matchmaker almost. Yeah. And like, it's crazy.
And just introducing them to each other, and then they're like all of a sudden lifelong friends.
It really was too.
That's pretty cool. Well, so Larry talks first from the home office of a life insurance company, practices this idea himself. He actually owns life insurance, which I question quite regularly how often the executives in the home offices of life insurance companies actually own the product at the company that they work with. Okay. Larry's not that. And I know he's financed several things. I mean, we've become friends over the years. Absolutely. So he lays the ground. He does the opening, or not really the opening, but the first speaker, and he's talking about the life insurance company that we're sending money to, and their strength and their philosophy and even their outlook. They're sitting on plenty of cash. They're not worried about market volatility. They're not worried about the inverted yield curve, which is, as Ryan has mentioned many times, this is the longest in history we've ever gone with an inverted yield curve since they've recorded it and started tracking it. And then that's the number one predictor of a recession. And I'm an optimist. I'm not saying bad things are on the horizon, but we are recording on 11/6 of 24. So,
sir, we are recording 11/5. We are recording on election day. Today's election day. Oh,
yes, election day. Sorry.
Today is election day.
I wrote down the wrong date. Well, I early voted. Okay. I don't even want to talk about all that.
Nope.
I would talk about that. If you want to share sometime, we can get real. Okay. And then, so I was the second speaker, and my talk was titled, I can't even remember the talk.
It was like the sequence of So I know it was really the order of assets and passive income.
Prioritization of assets for income in retirement. All right, now I know that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
and it's off into the future. And I got to talk about Nelson's 4 fundamentals. What does it mean to think long range? How long is long range to you? You know, and that idea of quote unquote retirement, socialistic as it is, you know, and that's in our vocabulary and everybody recognizes what we're talking about if I use the word retirement. And then I spoke a little bit about passive and how much work that takes sometime. And then even talked about the work, you know, that's required and the knowledge that's required, the understanding that's required to properly liquidate assets in retirement. And so here you got a life insurance company talking about their strength and their outlook and their philosophy. You have a room full of people that are practicing the infinite banking concept from 2 weeks to 15 years. And so everybody's at different stages doing different things, financing different things for different reasons, whether they're real estate, corporations, corporate owners, or just, you know, good old all-American Mr. and Mrs., you know, middle America, right? It seems like it's a long haul, you know, to get to that. I promise you the years click by very quickly. And you know that if you just stop and think about it. You know, my wife, your mother, my wife, your mother. So make sure we're talking about the same lady, right?
Yeah. You get confused on that sometimes. Eh?
We talk often and we use the language on purpose, you know, it makes us think and consider how really grateful that we are. But how fast time passes, you know, we like to say, because I believe it's true, the years are long, but the days are short, you know, so there's plenty of time and there's none to waste. But my point is here, we're doing different things. You know, you have the strength of the financial institution that you're actually putting money into. Then you have, you know, a talk that's talking about, you know, we're all going this direction. What do we do when we get there? And these are things to consider. You can wait and correct everything till you're right there at retirement. You've accumulated those 25 different accounts that are inconsistent, incongruent, without a purpose necessarily. And then you can start the work there, right, to organize them for proper liquidation. And there's some principles and philosophy that we follow when we get there. Or you can start the work now, right, and make the minor adjustments along the way. And I had fun. I stayed within my speaking time frame, so I felt good about it.
Yeah, you know, funny enough, a little backstage knowledge for you clients who attended. You probably didn't notice this, but we wrapped up pretty early on like Larry's, like getting into Larry's. So we put a lot of time up front for not only like introducing and what would you say, like giving the housekeeping, the group photo that we did. We put a lot of time up front. And we were like ahead 30 minutes where we were supposed to be.
Really?
So right before your talk, I don't know if you remember this, I walked up to you and I was like, just go. Because like it didn't matter. It was like you could go as long as you want.
You could I could go over.
Yeah, and you're like good because I plan on it. And honestly, your talk we still ended up leaving 15 minutes early for lunch. So
I made up time, but then
you made up time, but you killed it. Like you hit exactly where you should have.
Perfect. Well, thanks for saying that. I don't, you know
what? Forget the timing of stuff. Man, your talk was so good. I really feel like passive income and strategies in passive income are things that maybe a lot of agents will struggle with. A lot of other agents will struggle with. I mean, you're base. You're starting in the insurance world, maybe not the insurance world, but one of the big, at least when I was a kid, what I remember you doing a lot of was retirement seminars and retirement planning. So you have not only this base to work from.
Still do. Yeah,
and that strong history of understanding retirement and retirement planning. That's something that a lot of people are so weak in. And I'm not trying to dismiss a lot of newer agents and stuff, but a lot of the younger agents and younger guys, they don't have that base. Not only do they not feel comfortable talking to retirees and people who are in those actual stages of life, think about it. For a lot of agents, a lot of those folks are, uninsurable. Like, it's just not their demographic. That's not the people who they talk to. So it's not something that they prioritize in learning.
Are you talking about like within the infinite banking footprint? Within
the life insurance, infinite banking, just spread it. That's a pretty broad paintbrush that I'm brushing with right now.
I got you.
Go ahead and apply it liberally at that point.
I was pretty young when I was doing retirement planning. I was, I did several things, had several focuses, right? But, when I talk, unless I'm just off the cuff here, I'm pretty much off the cuff, but it still kind of applies. I say what I want to say and what I think needs to be heard or what needs to be said. I don't want to project onto you that I think I know what you need to hear. I don't mean that at all. But the idea of passive, quote unquote passive income, passive this, passive that, is about wore out. It's a cliche. It's almost like in the digital world is, collaboration. It's just a term that's been beat to death.
Yeah.
And then, I spoke with a client there to yet be left unnamed. He said, "Yeah, I got involved with this one organization. They did land deals, and it's an infinite banking type agency, but then they do all the other things. And God bless them. He's sharing with me. I didn't ask. He's telling me, yeah, he joined. They have a decent, program, whatever it is they do. But one of the things they do is real estate. So, really high returns in real estate. And I don't think they're overly big properties. I don't really know all the details. I just know his experience that he shared with me. He said, yeah, we got involved with that a couple of years ago. And I know we had a conversation about that, James. And you said that kind of real estate really wasn't your forte or what you was really interested in. But my wife and I, we jumped in and we did it. And the amount of work it took them to, going to the courthouse, doing the records, calling all the calls, whomever, just getting the deal, closing the deal, trying to sell the deal. He said there was nothing passive about it. We wound up just walking away, and just the money we put in, we made we got a return of some of it, and we just walked away from there because the work was too great. And they're already successful business owners with several retail stores, which was, I'm glad he recalled the conversation that we had earlier because I didn't really recall it. But and not to say that smaller deals or high velocity real estate deals are not a good thing, or not to say that they're a bad thing. My point was, his experience was it was a lot of work. There wasn't anything passive about it. Of course, that's maybe different than buying a syndicated deal or something different in real estate. But
I don't know. What got you successful? What made you successful to the point you're at right now? It's like when people want to go into like completely new ventures, like they have no experience in, and think that they're just going to make, what is it? The joke, 20%. Yeah, I make 20% on every deal. Is the whole real estate
except
joke.
For the ones they lose on.
Exactly right. It's a joke. It really is, and it's kind of like the whole, There's several financial unicorns out there, right? Things that everyone's heard about, but nobody sees. I make a deal. Every deal I do is 20%. You can get a growth stock mutual fund earning 12% year over year. There's just so many of those like unicorn things that people talk about. They espouse these ideas, but like in reality, they don't work. I feel bad when clients tell me they get wrapped up into that stuff. And I don't know specifically the case that you're referencing, but that's not like an uncommon thing that I've heard.
Yeah. I hear it all the time. Then, I like talking about retirement, right? A bit of the history. You see the history in Nelson's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. And you can go way beyond that as far as socialistic idea and nature and genesis of, Social Security. There is no fund anywhere. It's a direct tax to you. You don't have a right or not. Really, you don't have a right to. You shouldn't say that I'm going to get my Social Security. They got my money. I paid in my money. I'm going to get it back because it's not your money. You paid them in the form of a tax. And then they've got income for you in the future. Yeah, and they're going to change, the age, and they're going to index you out of maybe enjoying the income, index you out of how much you receive in Social Security because of your income. Right. But people often say, well, Social Security is not even going to be here. And I kind of disagree with that, because just how about all the Social Security checks don't go out, or the deposits don't go out next month? Mm-hmm. You see what happens to our society and our civilization. I think, in fact, it will be here because they have the ability, the government has the ability to print money. They've got a history of it. They do a very good job of that, printing money and digits out of thin air. So the problem that I see is, what is the purchasing power of the dollar you receive in the future, whatever form, especially in the form of Social Security? What's a purchasing power of that going to be? So $1,000 today, by the time you retire, may be like $200. Yeah. But so I got to talk about all of those things: passive, retirement, and talking about life expectancy, realistic, and some of the fundamental philosophies that we practice, planning from, and then some of the virtues that we bring to remembrance and consider. But then, so that was the second talk.
Well, and continuing on your talk, like the order of assets that you essentially utilize in that passive income stage, or when you're retiring, that's so powerful. And it's not done. People don't talk about it. And if they do, they often get it wrong. So bring some clarity to that. And also, it's the way that the talks went, right? You have, the company, company information, that's great. And then you have like a concept, and then a way to utilize your passive income, or the order in which you use those assets in passive income. That's so powerful.
Life insurance has its proper place in the order of liquidation or use. When it comes to assets, it has a particular proper place. Barry Dyke, he, I spoke with him, which I speak with him regularly. But after the event, we followed up, had a conversation, and it was actually that day. He said to me, James, I didn't see anyone going to sleep on any of the talks, and I seen people taking a lot of notes, which is perfect. They were at least paying attention and had some interest. It wasn't like you get all carved up and got to go to sleep, after lunch, while I guess Barry came up next. Right.
No, it was Ryan, then Barry.
Oh, okay. Ryan came up next.
Yeah. And like you're saying, everybody there seemed to be an active listener. It was very in participating, which we'll get to later when it comes to the Q&A session that we had to end the event. But next was Ryan. And honestly, I loved Ryan's talk too. His was very product oriented and very product specific. And he highlighted 2 products that should be utilized depending on what you're doing. One product is very specific to an insurance company, so I won't jump into all of it.
Yeah, but conceptually, it was how one could use life insurance structured properly for infinite banking if you received a lump sum and you wanted to avoid that god-awful first-year way over payment of premium, that's not, the problem is not that. The problem is what you have to do to that policy to accept that premium without becoming a MEC.
Yeah, the improper structure.
It is, and it has ramifications in the future, period. And I know a lot of agents that like that concept, listen to this, and, I've got nothing but love for you and whatever it is you're doing. God bless you. But for the clients, and every client's different. We're not the same. Thank God. But how to avoid a MEC with a large, one-time premium.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not that complicated, but it's kind of advanced if you look at what's available online in the infinite banking footprint. it could be a little bit advanced, but I mean, but it's a proper solution for a particular case, right?
And that specifically is not a case that you run into often. I mean, we have several clients who have that product.
I think all of them should look at it and consider it. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. It's just difficult. Like if you have a lump sum coming in, that's a great product if you want to avoid MECs, right? Now, if you have some sort of charitable organization, or you have some sort of taxes exempt organization that you're a part of or owner of, right? You don't necessarily have to use that product specifically, but there are certain clients.
So what you mean,
certain people,
if you have a tax exempt organization, a church, a charity, then a MEC is a MEC is a MEC. A MEC is a modified endowment contract. The life insurance industry came under scrutiny by the federal government. Who's shocked about that? We're looking at 86 and 88, and they looked at life insurance and said, oh, that's too good to be true. That's a tax loophole for the rich, and all of the other, common vernacular that's used to disparage something that's really good for you, the private individual. That's too good to be true. You've got too much capital too quick to still call it life insurance. So we're going to reclassify that to a modified endowment contract and therefore change the taxation on it. Yeah.
Could you imagine if Social Security was more like an annuity or something like that rather than its current form?
Well, the problem is it operates like an annuity. They have an actuarial life expectancy and actuarial tables there, but they know nothing about free market enterprise. And I'm not saying we have a free market in America today, but they know nothing about the nature of capitalism. They have the federal government creates not one product, provides one service, nothing. They take and then they expand. And granted, it's the greatest country we ever lived in, greatest country ever put together by man. I get it. In spite of all of its warts. But the federal government can't even run themselves.
Yeah.
They surely can't run a for-profit life insurance company. No way. But they do have the actuarial tables.
Yeah.
But they keep raising. They're going to index you out. You make too much income now. Once you get to retirement, you make too much income. We're going to have to raise your Medicare premiums and
hence the tax.
Yeah, it's like, we gotta lengthen out the age in which you can, qualify for full benefits. So my point here is they can't do anything financially responsible or profitable. Well, they could do very little that's profitable. All right. And then they can't run a for-profit entity like a life insurance company, but they do have the actuarial table. So, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but yeah, they've got tables like the life insurance company has, and like the everybody else has. The IRS has a tax table. Social Security has a tax table or a life expectancy table, and they keep having to modify it. Wonder why?
Because they're not good custodians of that money.
Yeah, exactly. They, when you pay Social Security tax, every tax you pay is paid to the U.S. Treasury. The money is spent before they received it. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing that's happening to your Social Security confiscations or contributions.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Well, then Ryan, so not only did he talk about the tax exempt product when using lump sums, but he also talked about the importance of a convertible term. And that's something that we've talked about not only on this podcast. And it's funny, as much as we've talked about it, I still don't feel people really understand its importance.
They don't.
And its planning.
I agree.
It's just so when Ryan's talking about not only again, different companies have different rules, but a lot of the companies will let you convert until a certain age or the product length, whatever it happens to be, or some form of
and
that.
What he means by that, if you have a 10-year term, some companies will allow you to convert every year for those 10 years prior to like age 65. There'll be some age that's cut off that you can't convert on a guaranteed basis.
Yeah.
And converting the term into a whole life product, right? You're converting some or all of the face amount. So if I had a $1 million term, and I'm 60, I've got a 10-year term, it's only guaranteed convertible to like age 65. But if I'm 55, it's guaranteed for the whole term period. And converting into a permanent policy without the evidence of insurability. And I'm only, with the acronyms that we use and the language that we have in the life insurance industry, like every other, we have our own. But people often email and say, can you break down the acronyms from time to time? So that's when I'm appeasing you. Okay. I don't want to throw you off track.
No, you're good. Because, look, you talk about convertible term and its purposes, right? Not only is it helping you solve for not guaranteed insurability in the future. Because, look, I don't know what tomorrow brings, much less 5 years from now. I think any podcast listener and yourself maybe included, Dad. I know for me, personally, it's true. I could not imagine where I'm at right now 5 years ago. And it's tough for me to imagine where I'm going to be in the next 5 years. And, us being long-term thinkers, it's still difficult to imagine, what things look like. And when I do imagine what things look like, when I fast forward 5 years, they are quite different than what they looked, and even what I had imagined. So, not only does the convertible term help solve some of those, convertibility issues or insurability issues in the future, but also it solves for like immediate death benefit when most of our clients and most agents and people who are listening to the podcast probably know that most of these whole life policies have a growing death benefit, right? The death benefit's going to grow year to year. So when the paid up additions rider when you pay a paid up additions rider premium, it increases your death benefit. So every time that happens, even when dividends, when they're properly allocated towards the paid up additions riders, when they're paid as well, your death benefit goes up, and it goes up every year. It's going to continuously go up. Death benefit is. But in the early years, that's when your death benefit's usually going to be the lowest. And you see a lot of clients, they're like, hey, I want to pay, 15 grand in premium or, just an amount in premium. And it does not get their death benefit or if something were to happen to them, right, their families would be put out. It's not solving for death benefit, these IDC
insured
policies. Yeah,
you're only using a banking type structure for a whole life policy, even though it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something you see.
That's a great point. Like when it comes to convertible term, being properly insured, number one, right? If you're a family, if you have a family, you have a business, you have obligations, you owe it to yourself and those that are dependent upon you or the ones you love and care about. You should be properly insured. What does that mean, James? Every company has a limit. The National Association of Insurance Commissioners, they've all come up with a limit of how much life insurance you can have. Yeah. And typically it's based on your age and then a factor of your income. So if I'm 60, I can have 10 times my income in total face amount from all the policies in force, excluding military and group term. Okay. Yeah. If you're 30, you can have 25 to 30 times your income. So if you earn $100,000 in income at age 30, right, you're fully insured or properly insured is $3 million. Yeah. And then as you say, and that's of all policies in force. So if you start a banking policy, it's going to have a lower death benefit. It's not going to hit that number unless you try to do that great big front end load of a premium, and you got to buy the term death benefit up to make that happen.
Oh, what happens to that shortly thereafter? Then?
Yeah, well, and then you got to have that high premium for 7 years, or it's a MEC, but then it starts trailing down, and it'll get the least at your natural mortality. What? Oh, that's not what your illustration showed? Okay. I digress, but there's a place for term insurance, and my encouragement is to at least consider being properly insured for the people that you love. have a banking type policy or maybe more than one, those total death benefits, they can all be coordinated and make sense and work together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then so you're properly insured, number one, but number two, with the proper company for you, if that's part of your plan, is to be properly insured. Or part of your goal or idea or dream or desire is to expand your system. Like you said a minute ago, you can't believe where you'd be 5 years ago. So we all start too small, in my opinion. We want to pay more. Don't really know if we can pay more or not. But, I don't know. You keep doing the right thing over and over and over and keep working and being a good steward of what you have, then you probably can pay more premium. So you're ensuring your ability to expand your system, right? Regardless of your health. And then two, as you were saying earlier, the death benefit, the face amount goes up as you pay premium. The dividends paid to the PUA by paid up additional death benefit. They create future dividends forever. Those future dividends will buy additional paid up death benefit and go straight to cash. So as we're getting older, here's my point. As we're getting older and the factor is going down, all right, and your death benefit is going up, that's another pressure on how much death benefit you could purchase. Right now, I hope everybody earns more this year and every year into the future until you graduate. Okay. But so being properly insured does more than just one thing, pay a cheap price for a death benefit. No, it allows you to be properly insured so the things get taken care of that if you were to graduate early, they still taken care of. Your wife is not going to be dependent upon another man to raise your children, as an example. I know sometimes, and I even said some things from the podium that I probably shouldn't have said. Might have to get the ninjas to edit some of that out. I mean, what you get is what you see is what you get. Okay.
Yeah.
But it also allows you to properly expand, and it also allows you to remain properly insured your whole lifetime. Because as those death benefits go up and you're converting some of the term, whatever you don't convert is going to go away, but it'll be replaced by that increasing death benefit on the banking type policies. There's a lot there.
Yeah. I got a funny little story kind of about a client.
I don't think there's anything funny about it if I know what you're talking about, but I don't.
No, you're 100% right. There's actually nothing funny about it, but it's an interesting story because it ties right into it. And Ryan talked about both sections here. So the convertible term, we have a client who got convertible term on himself. Less than a year later, just a year, right about it, a year later.
Which is part of our process. I just want you to know that if you come to us and you explore this wonderful idea of practicing the infinite banking concept, know that this is what you'll get. All right. You'll experience a beautiful process with beautiful people, but you're going to know what your insurability is. You're going to know what everybody says. You can't have any more of this than this. This is the number, right? You're going to know the mechanics of your policy if you choose to purchase a policy. You're going to understand the life insurance company's history, financials, their philosophy, the mechanics of their products, and why they may be the best choice for you. Now, that could get down to two different companies sometimes. My point here is this is what you can expect, right? If you become our client or go through our process, you're going to know what your insurability is, and then you're going to know how you should consider solving it, whether it's from banking and then other separate standalone term policies, right? Which is exactly what we did in this case. So he didn't just straight up and come to us and say, hey, I want a term policy. No. Yeah. He started a banking policy that was correct for him as a place to start.
Yeah. Right.
And then understanding what his insurability was at that time and how do you solve for that, right? Am I thinking of the same case?
I think so. So we started on the Mr. and then bought policies on the Mrs. and the children, and at the same time expanded with a convertible term on him.
Which is a proper foundation.
That's how you do it. And less than a year after we got that convertible term, or right about a year, he was diagnosed with cancer, ended up like getting the cancer removed. He's fine. Everything's fine. And there was a whole story about that. And I'm not going to get into all of that because I'm talking about the mechanics, what we're actually using rather than the personal. There's a whole, like the seen and the unseen of that, just what that man had to go through, but the peace that he had knowing his family was taken care of if things didn't go well.
He was instantly uninsurable.
Boom, that day. Anyways, now he has plenty of term to convert into the future when he does buy more policies. And specifically, he's going to have a voracious need shortly because of just how life works. And he'll be coming into a good sum of money. And what can you use with a good sum of money? That product that we've just been talking about.
Place to put it.
Yeah, the place to put it. So not only was he properly insured with the convertible term, but then he's going to have the product to convert it into, which is just makes you feel good.
I'm glad. And there's other cases too. There's it generally takes a certain amount of time for all of us to make a decision, right? Whether we're going to travel somewhere, buy this or do this or not do that. And I have experienced people becoming uninsurable during the process of just figuring out how you want to do what you want to do. Do you want to do it? How do you want to do it? And then getting to that decision, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we want to do it. And this is what we're going to do with it after we have it. Maybe that took 2 months, 3 months, whatever. Every case is different. I have seen people become uninsurable just going through that process right up to the time of application, and a week prior they had an emergency.
Yep.
We have experienced a case where we're going to start with a banking policy. I want to put the term off. I'll just put that off in the future. Thanks. It's good information to know. And then they become uninsurable before they even purchase a term. Seen the cases where, you have a banking policy. Here's the term amount. Here's your total insurability. This is how you can solve for as much of that as you wish to or not. No, I love that. Just let me do another banking policy. And then they become uninsurable, and then they're underinsured, or they actually graduate. Right? So, and I like the way that you laid that out, that started on him, his wife, the children, and then back to him. There is a proper way to lay a solid foundation that you can build whatever you wish to build upon in the unknown future. Right? And any day, let's say we lay down this path, you go through the process and all makes total sense, and you wake up 2 years from now because Dave Ramsey had some great nugget of wisdom, right? And you decide, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing I've ever done. You can quit. You can surrender a policy tomorrow. You can have it done today.
Yep.
I mean, you can quit at any time. You cannot get life insurance just because you want it or just because you have the premium to pay for it. It just doesn't work that way. Anyway, that was good. Thanks.
Yeah. And just kind of jumping us back on track where we were going with this.
Wait, we have a path?
A little bit, because we're recapping the event. So after that, we had, so again, Ryan had a great talk. Ryan killed it, did a great talk. After that, we went into Barry Dyke and his talk. So one of the
retirement ruse.
Yeah.
Did you hold up Ryan's book?
Here, I'll hold up Ryan's.
We haven't even talked about books yet, or we're still...
We've talked about it a little bit, and you've talked about Ryan's book.
Okay. So the retirement ruse, Barry Dyke. So our peeps had the opportunity to have their books autographed. That's cool.
Yeah. And so not only did they have the opportunity to get their books autographed, but they got to, see the authors and got to talk to the authors. Got a
photo with them. They're all so photogenic.
Really, if you went to the after party, you got to hang out a little bit too.
I did the pre-mixer. It was a love fest.
It is a love fest.
If you've missed the last three, you may have an opportunity. I'm not going to use the word annual. Not guaranteed that we'll do one next year, but if we did one next year and you haven't been the previous three, you have an opportunity to change that.
BWL 25. I'm really kind of excited. I think we're going to do it, but again, we haven't officially put it on the docket yet. But Barry, one of the things I really liked about his speech is, if you know about Barry, he's written multiple books. This isn't his first book that he's put out. He's done Pirates of Manhattan 1, Pirates of Manhattan 2, Guaranteed Income, and now it's Retirement Ruse. And I believe, I don't know if...
He's working on 2 more. He's working on Retirement Income 2.
Guaranteed Income 2, yeah.
Guaranteed Income 2, yeah. And then he's working on another one.
Is it Pirates 3?
Yes. Because, yes.
Cool. If we have to cut that out, we have to cut it out. But
no, we don't have to cut it out.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if he had
He was trying to, if he put it all in one book, it would be 800 pages.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, you just don't have the ability.
It's going to be 2 more books forthcoming.
Yeah. But this is really cool because he did talk a little bit about Retirement Ruse, but he really wanted to encourage people to read Retirement Ruse. I really felt like he did a great job covering Pirates 1 and Guaranteed Income as well. I think that was a big chunk of what he talked about, and he did talk about Retirement Ruse and a little bit about it. But it's always great hearing Barry, not only like his experiences and what led him down, his path and his journey to where he is currently. I think people's stories are very important, and telling your story is very important. I know, Dad, you've done it, a million times, so you don't do it as much anymore, but it's a very powerful story, and it's a great one. Nelson, his story, very powerful, great story. I think you're going to learn more about Ryan and his story with his book. And that's a great story as well. Barry's is definitely not an easy one. He did not get through his story, whole, I would say. It's not easy too. But yeah, his talk was fantastic. And it's always good seeing Barry. He's a friend and just salt of the earth guy. Really, really is. He
had a handout.
Yeah.
Which,
we have it.
Because he made several good points, and chief among his talents and his abilities is research.
Yeah.
Number one, he's a researcher among researchers, and an author. If you've read his books, he's a great author. But he made one point that I hope people heard, right? And what he said was, the stock market was never, ever, I'm using the word ever. He said the stock market was never intended to produce lifetime income. No, of course not. The stock market's primary purpose is to properly allocate capital. That's what the stock market is in existence for, to properly allocate capital. It's not meant to, never was meant to produce a lifetime income stream. That very powerful. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he said, being self-reliant is in finance is more important than ever. Of course, he pointing out some of these are obvious. I get it. But when you hear the author speak about it and then back it up with facts, figures, and history, brings it to a new level. Stock markets do not always go up. I love he pointed out, the Nikkei in the late 80s, the Nikkei collapsed in 89. It took it 34 years to recover. 34. But our case is different, right? Not going to happen to us. He pointed out that, America may be facing a retirement crisis with the number of people that are turning age 65. Between 2025 and 2030, there's over 30 million people turning 65. I use we updated, if you look in Nelson's book, I don't remember the page, he has a pig and a python.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And, I kind of explain a little bit of that, but it just shows how many people graduate after age 65.
Yeah, can you explain the pig and the python to people? Because that's...
Yeah. So Nelson created a graph that was based on the 1948 CSO tables, Commissioner Standard Ordinary Tables, what the life insurance industry uses to properly build and price life insurance, well, a very key component of that is life expectancy. So it's based on the life expectancy of 1948. All right. And that's what most all of those policies in Becoming Your Own Banker book, the illustrations are based on those tables. I think they were, well, that was 1948. I think they were updated once in the 1990s. Anyway, and if you look at how many out of 100 people, I should probably put that graph up here. But out of 100 people, how many die between age, 1 or whatever the starting age is, and how many people die between that starting age and age 65, and then how many people die before and after age 80? Of course, 100% of the people die. But the graph looks like a pig in a python because all of the dying, all the graduating got done between 65 and 80 in his original graphic. We recreated it based on the 2017 CSO tables a few years ago because life expectancy now is longer than it was. Policies are built to age 120 now compared to being built to age 100 on the theoretical life expectancy. So you look at the people, an awful lot of graduating gets done after age 80 today, and more people than ever are going to need income after age 65. And so I agree with Barry. There is a retirement crisis in America. And that's, Barry draws it out, supports his position in his research and his articles and his work, and I was just showing graphically the difference between, policies and life expectancy of 40 years ago and today. And the fact is we are living longer. And if you don't do something different, right, you might get the same thing that most people are getting today, which is not much. Most people are not retiring with enough income or assets. My opinion.
Well, Barry said that he said so in 2024 in the World League tables in terms of retirement preparedness, America, according to research prepared by Mercer, is 29th in the top 30 countries.
Yeah.
Man, that should sting a little bit. And that should show you that conventional retirement I was going to say conventional retirement planning, like there's such a thing. Because there is not really any conventional retirement planning, right? It's I hope Social Security takes care of me when I can't work anymore. Yeah. And people aren't savers like they should. There's a lot of issues with America and our retirement preparedness, but we are woefully underprepared.
Barry was on as a guest maybe a month and a half ago, and the United States fell in their rankings from like 23 or 24 to 29, which you just stated.
Yeah.
In a matter of 60 days. Out of the 30 top Western countries in the world, we ranked 29. Well, that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
He also pointed out that despite the no media coverage, corporations and banks and media companies themselves are consistently turning to the life insurance companies to strengthen their balance sheets and to finance and administer their retirement plans.
Yep.
And he's gone into that with Pirates of Manhattan 2, I believe, and
1 and 2, right?
Well, probably, yeah. I think he hit it pretty hard in 2, though, and then covered it in guaranteed income as well. Okay. But the idea that these Fortune 500 companies that had the pensions, and now only 11% of the population in the U.S. have a pension, defined benefit plan, where you work so many years, you reach this age, we're going to guarantee you an income for the rest of your life and potentially a joint life payout if you're married, right? Defined benefit. You stay with us this long and you retire at this age, we're going to pay you this much as a pension. 11% of the population has that now. Oof. All right. Now what we have is a defined contribution system. You've got to pay into the 401k. Nobody's responsible. I mean, the employer is not guaranteeing that, right? There are no guarantees in the stock market. Does that mean it's always going to go down? No, but it sure as heck doesn't mean it's always going to go up either. All right. So
yeah,
you have these companies, Fortune 500 companies, that have had these defined benefit plans. There are future guarantees that they've made. They've obligated themselves to pay this income to their future retirees. And now they don't want it. They don't want to, they can't, they're not money managers. They're automobile manufacturers or whatever. So they're offloading that risk. It's called pension risk transfer. And these Fortune 500 companies are buying annuities from life insurance companies. So the annuity can guarantee the pension. But wow, who really talks about that other than Barry Dyke? And who documents that better than Barry Dyke? I don't know.
I think that's the whole issue that Barry was talking about is nobody's documenting this. Nobody's talking about it. Like he feels like he's screaming into a void. And he's talked about, trying to get on, TV to talk about these things, and, nobody's interested. Nobody wants to talk about this. And it's deeply concerning, that he feels like he's screaming into a void with the information that he's sharing, the information that, he's writing about. When somebody like that feels like people aren't paying attention, and it really is like a scream into the void. I know I've said that a few times already.
If you practice the infinite banking concept, I'm sure you feel like you're screaming to a void when you go to a family dinner or whatever. My
gosh, I feel like it most days too. But there are people who are listening. There are people who are paying attention, who are catching on. It's just not the people who are sharing information like with hundreds of millions of people, right? Those aren't the people who are talking about this. It's the circles between like-minded folks like ourselves, right? Between not people who want to play video games all day. Not trying to knock people who want to play video games all day. I get it. Video games are awesome, but it's a difference when you're proactive and you're active in your not only education of what's going on in the big wide world, but what your future is going to look like. When you're proactive in that, that's when you start talking and hearing, in these circles about, the things that Barry Dyke's talking about. But like, that's not what, especially like financial education and like, the Dave Ramsey show and all these other shows that are, going on. Like, that's not what they're sharing, right? They're sharing, what would you say, like an echo chambered like discussion. It's, money's in the market. That's how you retire. That's how you make money. That's how you get rich. And it's the same opinions going back and forth, but that doesn't actually equate to like people getting rich. People are not getting rich in the market. There are some, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock it and say nobody's getting rich in the market, but a lot of people who are relying on the market to guarantee their retirement because, they're not really proactive in their own retirement and saving for their own retirement. So they're just relying on the 401k or the IRA to, provide that retirement in the future. There's the ones who are suffering. And they're also not the ones who are paying attention to what we're saying, though. Those aren't the casual listeners. Those are not the people looking for this information. So I get when Barry says he feels like he's screaming into a void. I feel that so much because the people who need this the most aren't watching or paying attention.
That's a good point. And it kind of speaks to his self-reliance, self-reliance, financial self-reliance is more important than ever. And I agree with that, man. If you don't care, why should I care?
Yeah.
All right. But if you do care, then I care. And if you're not looking, right, you're not going to find. Mm-hmm. So the news media is not going to tell you what's going on behind the curtains of Wall Street at all. They're all lapdogs. They're all part of the same narrative. So when you get tired of being tired, when you get tired of owing so much debt and credit cards and cars and boats and education and dental and medical and all of the other things that you finance using the third-party lending, when you get tired of that, or if they start showing up seasoned assets because you're not performing, right? When you get enough of all that, whenever you've had your full of that, whenever you've gotten your limit, and you wonder to yourself, there may be a better way. I'm telling you, you're right. There is a better way, and it's becoming your own banker. And I got to share, Blake, a dear friend of mine, sent this last week. This is a first edition of Becoming Your Own Banker, right? That is a solution. There is a solution.
Show that off. Here, I want to show.
Becoming Your Own Banker is a solution. And then if that resonates with you, then get Ryan's book, How to Buy a Whole Life, right?
I feel like this is like an artifact. Like it's like,
right?
Like I don't want to like bend it or touch it too much. It's like,
well, put it down, man. Quit touching it.
It's a sacred artifact.
This is what the current edition would look like, Becoming Your Own Banker. My point here is that when you've had enough, you think you've had enough, or you just about had enough and wondering if there may be a solution, something different, something that could work for you and your family to change the whole paradigm when it comes to your money, I'm telling you, you're right. Mm-hmm. It exists right here. This is where you start. There's, out of all of the videos on this channel, I cannot point you to one that would say, oh, you go here and I'm going to break it down for you and spoon feed you step by step with all the details and all of these things that you think you might want to see or hear to feel good about buying life insurance. I don't have that. I don't think it exists anywhere on the internet, right? Other than Nelson's 6.5 hour video series and this book. I think you're smart enough you can figure it out. I truly do. And so
cut that and make that into a short.
Nothing but encouragement. If you think there's a problem out there, you know dang well there's a problem out there. If you're tired of playing the game, you know, we're all born into this debt slave construct against our will. We didn't even know it. Mm-hmm. Then it takes a certain amount of time to find out that we're in this construct. And then if you have the idea of the thought that there's something better, there may be something. The question, is there something better? Is there a better way? And I'm just saying, yes, there is. And it's becoming your own banker. All right. And if you spend $20-$25 getting that, and don't go online and get a digital copy. If you do, get the hardback too. Get them both. I'm just saying it to be in your hands, be able to flip back and forth in pages will help you. Yeah. And if you spend, I don't know, let's say you bought a book, you got it digitally downloaded, you got it on Audible. Let's say, it took you 5.5 hours to read it. If you're a slow reader, I don't know how much money you got in that, maybe $200. Okay. You waste $200 every quarter anyway. So I'm trying to be encouraging. I'm not being harsh. No. All right. So to the talk, the talks kind of flowed, it's foundational, the life insurance company. Then we're stretching out talking about assets in retirement. Mm-hmm. And then Barry spoke. He's giving you
Ryan, because then he had the products. Yeah.
A couple of products, a couple of concepts, that lump sum of money and being able to be sustainable, or the guaranteed ability to expand your system, adding some endurance to your system in face of the unknown future. Then you have Barry coming on, talking about what's really going on in the financial world. Yeah, that's a heck of a lineup, if you ask me.
That was a great lineup. And then, to end the meeting, to end the event, we had a fantastic Q&A session. And, that was one of the things from our last event that we got, I don't want to say pushback, but that was something I saw a lot on the surveys last year, was like, make the Q&A longer, longer.
We have an hour or 45 minutes last year.
Well, we scheduled it for 45 minutes. I think we went a little over an hour. I think we went like hour and 10, something like that. Like, because we stretched it. We went into like the unknown wilderness.
We have a dynamic agenda. How are you going to ask somebody to speak and put them straight at 1 hour, 60 minutes, or straight at 45 minutes? So we have and it worked fabulously. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of a fluid agenda, so speakers can go over or come up short. Mm-hmm. But so last year it was 45 minutes, but it went over.
Yeah. All right. Went well over. In this year, so I will say the one thing that we were told was an issue was we didn't have enough restroom breaks. And the reason for that is because we wanted to save that time for the Q&A because people told us how important it was. And we did have a restroom break that was supposed to be there. We just couldn't get it in because our speakers went a little over. But it was worth it. And if you are ever going to one of the events, you're not held captive. You can use the restroom at any point in time.
Well, if that's the only thing you can pick on for the event.
Well, the thing is they didn't want to miss anything. So what they were upset about was not that they didn't have the ability to use the restroom.
Yeah.
It's that if they had to go use the restroom, they were going to miss somebody talking.
Yeah, I got you.
So anyways, we got into the Q&A, and man, it was a fantastic Q&A. It went about, so we had it scheduled for, I think it was an hour and 15 or an hour and a half that we had the Q&A scheduled. Here, I have the schedule. We had the Q&A scheduled for an hour and 15 minutes is what we had it scheduled for. And we went well over an hour and a half. And still, not everybody got their questions, answered. So it's one of those things that these Q&As are so important because it allows our clients to ask questions that they want the answers to. And a lot of those questions, right, you can, if you're a client, you can call us or email us at any point in time and we'll help you answer questions and things like that.
We need to do the Q&A live stream or whatever that's been on the agenda for a minute.
Absolutely. Because
I think that would be valuable because
yeah.
We went over on the Q&A this time as well, right? So what did we do? An hour and a half, 2 hour Q&A?
We actually did like almost an hour. I think it was an hour and 45 minutes because I want to say we went to 5:15.
Okay, yeah. We did.
And we started it at 3:30. Okay.
So there you go, an hour 45.
Yeah.
And then
it was pretty intense.
And because a lot of clients sent in questions prior to the event.
Yeah.
And then there were, just questions from the floor at the event. So we were going back and forth in the spirit of trying to get them all honoring the questions that were sent in prior and answering the questions that, were just occurred there. And we still had 5 or 6 unanswered questions and people that were raising their hand. So we should do a better job of that. And we should do a better job at that.
Dad, you could have a Q&A event. Yeah. Where the only thing for 6 hours is Q&A. Wow. And I don't think you would run out of questions because that's something that I notice. So I was kind of emceeing the event, but as you're walking around, as people are asking questions, they're coming up with their own questions because that triggers more questions. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, if I could use this for this and this, well, this may be a stumbling block here. So let me ask about that.
I'm glad you said that. Jan and I, my lovely wife, we were talking, and I think it was a pre-event mixer, and there's a lady that, there was a lady and a gentleman and 2 gentlemen and a lady at this one particular table. So we met them, and she was relatively new, but from conversations that she had before we walked up to the table, and she might have been at a different table prior to us coming up, she was sharing some of the previous conversations that she had with people that are paying life insurance premium, that have been practicing this concept longer than her. And she's like, I had no idea that you could do what they're doing. I had no idea. So just the amount of learning from other people that you've never met before and you're not ashamed to talk about what you're doing financially. I mean, that's very... to me, it makes the whole event worthwhile. Yeah. In addition to the talks, the authors, because those are very educational. The Q&A is very educational. It's educational for me. And I love live questions from the audience. I mean, I can take them. I like them. It's just the idea that you can learn from other people. You didn't know them from Adam, of course, until you met them that day. And then y'all are talking about,
dividend paying whole life insurance in detail.
Creative ideas. No, this is what I'm actually doing. Yeah. I have rent cars, I have rent automobiles, and I have that cash flow to do this and this to do that. It's pretty, I'm using their life. That's, And I think where she got some expanded thinking was using life insurance policies or having life insurance policies on children and grandchildren, I think. But, and I want to back that up to what I talked about. I addressed that in my talk, not necessarily completely, but where do the life insurance policies go when you're enjoying passive income in retirement? Not only yours and your spouse, where do the other policies go that you own? What about the policies you own on your grandchildren if you hadn't already given it to them? What about the policies that you own on your children if you haven't already transferred ownership? What about the policies that the children own, maybe on you, or the children own on their own lives? There's a place, a proper order, and a proper place for all of those assets. And then you talk about the support. I talked about the support system that you may want to have in place. You'd hope to have in place we're all going to have some level of support. And that matters whenever you start taking income from assets. Right. But it's like, and then there's the next life, legacy, whether it's trust, you want all of your assets you haven't given away or spent, you want them to go where you want them to go. But how do you use life insurance policies on other people? How do you use a policy if you, sir, and you, ma'am, assuming there's a married couple, or two partners, how do you use life insurance? Should you both have policies? Why? If so, how much? All of that matters. Yeah. But
and the order in which you take from them matters. I think that was something that's unique that I don't hear in this circle, this sphere, this community often enough, is talking about the order. Because a lot of people are like, okay, so when I hit retirement age, I'm going to start taking from my life insurance policies. And my dad says, no, stop. That is the wrong order. That's really the last thing you should be taking from, or one of the last things that you should be taking from. And I mean, drew out this beautiful order, which I'm sure my dad will take plenty of time to address at a later date, maybe for some client-only content. For our actual clients who on our Banking with Life website will get to enjoy. But I will say, like, that is such a powerful, would you say, topic that is never touched or is not touched often enough.
I agree. I think enjoying income using life insurance policies, how you do that, when do you do that? Where does it go? It's a vacant in the infinite banking footprint. Doesn't exist other than conversationally.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, I'll take tax-free income. Well, okay.
Well, this is a guy with how many years of retirement planning experience before you got into infinite banking, which you've been in infinite banking now for almost 20 plus years?
20
years. 20 years. So you probably had, a decade before that? And
14 years before I met Nelson. So that's like 33. I'm not even that old, really. But, we have retirement clients in existence today. Our oldest one just graduated late last year. He graduated at like 97. I just spoke with a lovely lady today. She's 74, 5. You couldn't tell it by talking to her or, hanging out with her all day. Okay, so we go through the Q&A. It was good. I thought it was good. I got nothing but appreciation. That's the feedback I got. I know we handed out and received back surveys, just feedback, and I appreciate that. But really, the whole thing wrapped up with the after party.
Oh, yeah. So I'll be honest, I wasn't a big figure at the after party. I was there for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. Not even that, honestly. My feet were like almost bleeding. Look, so this is my fault. This is my fault, right? So I bought this brand new suit and it looked gorgeous. And I bought these brand new Chelsea boots and they were gorgeous. I put a shoehorn in them. But here's the issue.
Brand new.
Yeah, I got them the day before. So I was supposed to get them like 2 weeks prior to the event. And I was going to really wear them out and, stretch them out, break them in. And I got it the day before. I got them on Thursday before the Friday night meeting. So I had just enough time to put a shoehorn in there and be like, come on, stretch out a little bit. No. So
I wondered why you were sitting down all the time.
Man,
I'm kidding.
It's funny. So in rehearsals, walking up to the stage, the first time
you rehearse this?
Yeah, well, no, I rehearsed, just getting on stage. I like to walk on stage. I don't know any of you speakers out there in the world or if you've ever done that, but one of the things I like to do, I know my dad does too, and a lot of speakers like to do, is before we take the stage, we like to walk across the stage, go up to the microphone, see kind of like how far away you should be from the mic. So I like to do that because if I'm too far up on the mic, you're really loud. If you're too far away, nobody can hear you. So I like to have my arms rested in a place where I know whether I go a little bit forth or back and forth, it's going to be good volume. So, I'm just practicing, making sure everything's going well. Volume's going to be fine. As I'm walking up onto the stage for rehearsal. So this is like 6:30 in the morning. That morning, my feet were immediately hurting. Hey. Walking up on the stage, I was like, uh-oh. So lovely Carla, who's James's executive assistant, she had a bunch of Band-Aids.
First aid kit, huh?
So, it's funny. So, like, before the event starts, right, people are starting to gather out, eating breakfast. And I'm sitting there, like, wrapping, Band-Aids on my feet, my bare feet before I put my socks back on. Yeah, before, I get up on stage. Yeah, don't do new shoes. Look, the new shoes look great, though. So I looked fantastic.
Most speakers, like you said, if I'm going to speak somewhere, I want to see the venue. I'd like to see it, and I'd really like to see it from the podium or from the stage or wherever the speaker's going to be. And it's for me, I'm selfish, right? But let me give you the background to that. So one time, it was a long time ago, I and several other people, and this was not a financial event, right? We were invited to speak at this group, all right? And so we had to travel a minute to get there. And so we wound up being kind of early, right? Mm-hmm. So here's a beautiful venue. It was a beautiful venue, beautiful auditorium type seating, but it was all straight back, kind of elevated. So we go up, we're all sitting up at the very front. I think there was about 3 or 4, several of us that were going to talk. And so we get there early and we're up front and we're, just chit chatting, having a great time, talking to people that come by, whatever, until it was time to talk, right? So the MC gets up there and they're introducing or they're talking, greeting and whatever they're talking about. And I don't know what order I was in the speakers, but I had never turned around since we had arrived. Right. When we arrived, I was sitting up front looking forward. Mm-hmm. When it was my turn to talk, I get up, get to the stage and turn around. And there was a room full of people. And I had never spoke in front of that many people ever.
This is a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a minute. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's really that from that experience.
Yeah.
I want to see the room. I want to turn around and, see how many people might be there. But
yeah, it does make a difference. Kind of with that anticipatory like anxiety that goes on. I know some people struggle more with it than others. The anxiety when speaking. I've always been lucky that like it's not even like I do care about what people think, but if you don't like me, I don't really care. Good on you. Go find somebody else that you do like. I don't know.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, that's really how I feel. But so that takes the anxiety at least off of me, right? Like in my performance, it's like I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna do my best. But if you don't like me, go.
And it's not really a performance. You did an excellent job. You were doing the emceeing, doing the opening, the house cleaning, and the announcements, call to order, and I thought you did a fabulous job.
Except when I introduced Ryan Griggs as Ryan Neathery.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, that was funny though. It was funny in its own. Like I made up for it, trying to be funny.
Ryan's up there calling me Nelson. It's like the third or fourth time he's done that over the years, talking. It's like, I thought it was really funny when you did that. It was
funny to me too. I caught myself. I was like, Ryan Neathery. I'm like, I was like, I meant Ryan Griggs, but it's the same thing because look, he's family. We love Ryan, so I always have fun at these events, and thank you for allowing me to MC it. And I hope we do one next year, and I hope I get to do the same. Maybe even speak a little bit. I don't know.
No, I think you need to come up with a talk. Something to share. Show us some mechanics. And
to do so.
Too, the whole purpose of this. Jake and I are talking. We know there's a very limited potential audience that would be even interested or even take the time to listen to that. Mm-hmm. But if you're our client, or you want to be our client, or you're becoming our client, we're just trying to share. We just want to share some of the background. We did I think Ryan and I did a pre-event kind of looking forward. Mm-hmm. We typically do this when we do an event. We do an episode where we're looking forward, and we do an episode where we kind of look back and reminisce and share. And the encouragement is, for you to become your own banker. Just discover the infinite banking concept. Don't get drug out into the weeds. Stay on track with the original sources. Becoming your own banker. Nelson's first book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. His second book, How Privatized Banking Really Works. Mm-hmm. Dr. Robert Murphy, Carlos Lara. And then now, required reading, if you want to learn how to become your own banker and actually apply it, right, is How to Buy Whole Life, Ryan Griggs. Okay.
Yeah.
And then become a client. Control the banking function. Come meet these people that we're talking about. Come meet, at that future date, the future speakers. It'll be worth it. I don't think anyone was there that said, or that would have thought, they surely didn't express, oh, Ryan didn't do a good job. Mm-hmm. Oh, Jake didn't do a good job. Barry didn't do a good job. Larry didn't do a good job. James, it was a waste of money, time, effort, and energy. I mean,
man, if any of that was true, maybe they'd have a point. But I mean, you guys all killed it. I thought, honestly, this is probably one of the best events, just seamless, without issues. I even talked to, our AV ninjas. And I mean, there's always issues, right? There's always going to be technical issues that pop up.
Don't put that out there, Bobby Ray.
But they even said even this year was a lot less crazy than it was the year prior to that. And then, oh my gosh, for those of you guys that were with us at the Botanical Gardens, bless what Justin and I think Andrew even came to help out. Was he still? It was Josh. There, thank you. Josh. So Justin and Josh, I mean, what they had to do.
It was Justin. Well, Josh was over there knocking over the cameras.
Yeah, that's true. No, we love you, Josh. But Justin's a week or two into working at our office at that time.
Maybe 2 weeks.
You hadn't been there a ton of time though at that point.
I've been there a couple months.
2 weeks at the most.
No, he said a couple months.
Oh, a couple of months. Okay. Well,
but still, I mean, it's a baptism by fire.
To round that, and we still 3 years later, we're still talking about it in the office.
Yeah.
When it comes around to planning events and doing all that. So, with Jake, speaking of, 2-3 years ago, we did a Banking with Life event at the Botanical Gardens, auditorium speaking, auditorium layout.
Yeah.
And we went up there, we go to the location, they go to the location to make sure the event coordinator and event planner, everybody goes and looks at how the layout should be. Well, the AV guys go and they engage with the AV people at the establishments, right? The hotels and at the Botanical Garden. Excuse me. So we go, and the Botanical Garden said they had an AV guy, and they had a $20,000 board. I don't know. It's massive.
Yeah.
Right. And they can do this and they can do that. Well, it could do all those things, but he didn't know how to do them.
Yeah. The AV guy at the Botanical Garden. So the guy who's supposed to run this every week, every day, whatever, has no idea how to run any of it.
Well, come to find out, he was a groundskeeper. They brought him inside. Like, yeah, we've got a AV guy. And so he's showing Justin how to do this and how to do that. And it's not really working. Yeah, he's wrong. And so the morning of the event, these events start at 8:30, 9. So they start early, that's after breakfast, right? And so that was about 40 minutes away from our office right here in downtown Alvarado. We're in West Fort Worth. All right. Justin couldn't get the audio visual, couldn't get it going, right? And then we have our own audio visual system, that we can take. It's mobile. Well, we didn't take it that time.
Because they had everything there.
They had everything, right? I'm just telling you, like 40 minutes before the first speaker was up, Justin had to drive down here, get our system, get it back, and set it up.
Yeah.
And he did. And he was, 9 sheets of white and sweating, profusely. But by gosh, he got it done, and no one knew. You couldn't do it. He's just like a regular AV guy over there freaking out over chords or whatever. Not freaking out, studiously working through chords and stuff.
Yeah.
And so
he made it seamless.
We knew he was going to work out after that because by golly, he did it and delivered. So that was the background of that. None of that happened this time. So
it was very smooth. Even them letting us into the room early, like the day before, allowing us to take up more space than we usually do. It really was a seamless event. This one, I don't want to say seamless. There's obviously issues that happen and things we've alluded to, but. Just comparatively, this was a very easy event and very fun. So I appreciate everybody that took part in that. Special shout out to the folks that really made that happen. We had some agents who helped us carry stuff up to the event. Justin's girlfriend helped shoot the event. I mean, there was people who were just
Justin's fiance.
Oh,
don't cut that out. I'm kidding.
No. Leave it in. She gonna get them anyway.
If you leave it in, I'll clip it out and send it to her.
We'll make it a short. We'll actually just make this a short. Just that part. Justin's fiance.
Jordan, lovely young lady.
Yeah, she killed it. Like everybody that was a part of this that helped out, who not even part of our office technically, and they just helped out. It was. They made this event go smoothly. So appreciate you. Special shout out to all of y'all.
Yep. So if you went, thanks for going. If you didn't go, you have an opportunity.
Something Larry said that I thought was interesting.
What?
He said this is one of the best looking groups that he's ever been in front of. Just looks like physically looking. So those of you that didn't come, obviously y'all weren't part of that. I don't know what that says about you.
Our clients are obviously good looking. Now, listen, if you're aesthetically challenged, you can still become our client.
Yeah, we'll put you in the back of the room, but I'm kidding. No, it really is a big love fest, between us, our clients, and the people that show up, whether they be our agents or home office, people.
We do keep the home office people at a minimum, so don't worry about that. Okay.
Well, yeah.
What else?
I think we've had everything about the event. I think a special episode where maybe you hit some of the questions that we didn't get to, like a special Q&A, like an event Q&A could be a really cool little thing. I'm just throwing stuff out there for you guys.
Yeah, we talked about that, putting it in client only because, this was really a client-only event. I think we did allow people to bring a guest.
Yeah.
I don't know how many that. I don't know how much that happened because we didn't really talk about it other than being a client-only event.
This has been a weird year, and I could understand maybe why not as many guests showed up. So we allowed guests the previous year too, and more guests showed up last year. That's really where we had probably the bigger number. Yeah. And that's why we had 120 people. There were some guests there, but this time around, really there weren't many guests, and I don't really think that speaks negatively to our clients. I think that speaks more to the atmosphere of what people are going through. out there in the big wide world. But look, this is 2024, October 2024, November right now as I'm speaking, 2024. You guys all know what you went through this year, 2024. If you don't, or you're watching this 5 years from now, you can look back and remember how 2024 went. This was not the year of years that everybody loved and was, made a ton of money. People really struggled this year. That was something I noticed. And so still to have 100 people there who paid to be there and came from 20 different states and, another country, it's an honor to be in front of all of you guys and to, help you on your journey and be a part of that journey. So thank you. Seriously.
All right. I would say about this year, being a little bit different. What I've noticed in the, just in general, I think truly people are wore out with this, god-awful election cycle thing that we're drugged through every 4 years. I think people are wore out after 16 to 20 years of that.
Yep.
And so here we are again. And I don't care what side of the paradigm you're on, right, left. I am so anti-state. God bless you, whatever side you fall on, whatever you believe. I think
you're wrong.
We're all tired of it.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have, interest rates go up so you can earn a little bit more now comparatively in the brick and mortar bank, money market accounts or, CDs or high yield savings checking, what have you. But then interest rates have also gone up on mortgages. I get it. They've crept back down a little bit. And banks are a little less excited to lend comparatively this year over the last several. And then inflation is killing us, literally. And I think, so with inflation, you have the interest rates changing, you have this election cycle syndrome, and I think people literally, I don't want to say they don't know what to do. They're not sure that they want to do anything.
Paralysis by analysis, you're given so many things and so much is thrown in front of you, you just don't do anything.
Yeah.
But, something else I want to touch on that you'd said earlier, it's kind of interesting. The inverted yield curve and how long it's been an inverted yield curve. What is that, like an indicator of going into a recession? Yeah. I would say that we are firmly within a recession in 2024. We were firmly entrenched in one. The rising interest rates are what to combat us being the rising everything, inflation, interest rates, that was all done to combat being in a recession and just not calling it a recession. That's what I've experienced 2024 is us firmly in a recession, just, the mainstream media on both sides, right and left, not calling it what it is, because that could somehow maybe, affect them and their power and what power they may have in the future. It's ridiculous. But yeah, would you agree that we are firmly within a recession?
Yeah, we're in a recession. And it's always kind of, once they declare it, then they'll map it out, put it on the grade bars on the Fred. And then talk about it. Oh, look at here. It's it just is what it is. Don't you worry. They'll try to dust up World War III to get us out of the recession. I'm not political. I'm just tired of it.
Get the war machine started.
Okay, all right. Listen, man, we might have to do some editing on this one. I'm just saying, I'm throwing Jordan's name around and marriage and talking about war, and
I think you should leave it all in. It's fantastic.
Okay, all right.
We're leaving it in.
Are you good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Right. Thanks for listening. I had fun, and see you next time. Be free.
Be free.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.